that walk. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling.
This is Walk and Roll Live.
This is Walk and Roll Live,
a podcast dedicated to the disabled community, sharing stories of courage and triumph,
joy and discovery,
and everyday successes and challenges. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Vincent and Eric Aguilar.
And it is time once again for another episode of Walk and Roll Live. Hello, friends and neighbors. I am Doug Vincent. What's your name, sir?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good to see you, man. Coming to you from the Aguiar Professional Training Studio. We appreciate it. We have got a great guest today. We're going to be talking. You might have noticed on your TV that every other commercial, it seems like, is open enrollment commercial for Medicare and all that stuff. So we thought we'd have an expert on who deals with this all the time and answer a lot of the questions. Kind of, if you're not there yet, kind of help you maybe get ready for it. If you're in the middle of it, he can give you some advice to kind of cover all that. So we'll get to him here in just a little bit, Mr. Scott Wells. And you, sir. Oh, you know what? Before we go to this next thing, I want to say thank you to Greg Walker, who was here last week, was our guest, broadband, talking about the broadband around California, and got a lot of good tips and advice from him, too. And that program that he does with his organization, they're up on the website now, Great Community Center, or Great Harvest Community Centers. You'll see it on the website, and talks about those Chrome books that they give out to those in need in San Bernardino County. So check that out. So wanted to ask, how was your week? Anything exciting happened in the last week? You've been teaching, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. I've been doing a round of teachings for emergency preparedness for people with disabilities on behalf of the San Bernardino State Council of Developmental Disabilities. The next 2 days will be the last 2 days of my round of teaching. I'll be on break all of January, but then be back on the air come February.
On the air here? You taking a break from our show?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No. What I mean is my teaching.
I'm going to have to clear that up with HR, buddy.
Walk and Roll Live, never take vacation.
Okay, so maybe sometime during January you can do your disaster preparedness podcast with us.
Oh, sure.
All right. Well,
I'm free any day of the week except for 3 particular dates.
Anyone that ends in Y?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll do that. Let's kind of target maybe mid-January. We'll do that. So this is good. You've got already 1 or 2 under your belt. Got a couple more coming up. You'll be honed. You'll be ready to do that. Nothing. I don't know. It's been busy the last week. I'm trying to think of everything that happened, but I got my Christmas cards out. Bless their hearts. I lost 4 aunts and an uncle in the last probably year and a half, and God bless them. They were all well into their 90s. One was 99, one was 98, but they all sent me Christmas cards every year. And so I don't normally send Christmas cards out, but I thought I would do it this year as a tribute to them. So sorry. Yeah. So I did that. Got that all done, and they're all in the mail. So that's it. And this coming week, it's going to be busy. Christmas time. There's Christmas parties. Went to a car show yesterday, and it's been going on for like 25 years. And they collect toys for those that may not otherwise have toys at Christmas for the kids. So that was fun. Yes, sir.
Christmas is actually one of my favorite times of the year now that I think about it. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's never about what's under the tree. It's about who's here. And we do like a family photo, every year. We make tamales every chance we get. We do karaoke night that same night. I mean, it's loads of fun.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So I think you were telling me before we came on, though, you it's just not Christmas time. You like the tamales, right? You're a year-round tamale guy?
When I was living with my grandparents, tamales and menudo and pozole was every other weekend.
Very nice.
A natural thing for us.
So which is your favorite tamale?
Ooh, besides the chicken tamales and the one with the papas and the carrots, I like the jalapeno pepper ones with cheese.
Yeah. So every Christmas, there's another organization, some friends of mine, Phil and Mary Leatherman, that for years collected toys. They'd have it at their house. They had a nice big property, and they'd put up a tent and have everybody over. And your entry into the Christmas party was a toy. They would fill a trailer, and then they would take it to Fort Irwin. So they moved to Texas a few years ago, and so another organization took it over, and they've been collecting toys. So we have a big party with them. They found another place. It's over in Riverside. And this guy, this sounds familiar as I'm talking about this. Maybe I already mentioned this. Don't tell my daughter I'm telling stories over and over and over again. She accuses me of that all the time. But it's amazing. And so that is this Saturday. And then what's Sunday, Eric? What's coming up this Sunday?
Oh, this coming Sunday, the Loma Linda Possibilities Party. This is like the Grammys for us.
Yeah.
And it's never about, the awards or who gets the scholarships for me. No. It goes deeper than that. What I enjoy most is the great food and seeing the friends, we haven't seen since COVID, or friends we haven't seen in a long time before that. I mean, it's a good time all in itself.
Yeah. A lot of times this is the only place that you see them once a year. A lot of good folks that, have come in and out of your lives over the years. And this is one time to get back together. So we appreciate Loma Linda and Possibilities for giving us this opportunity to do that, right?
Absolutely, Doug. It's one of my best cameos.
Yeah. All right. Yep. We're gonna put you right center stage, sir, this Sunday. All right. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk to Scott Welch with Welch Insurance Services and try to uncover the mystery that is everything that has to do with Medicare coverage and all that good stuff. Not particularly sexy, but for the group that is taking advantage of it. It's very important, and it's nice to have a little help to navigate it all. All right, we'll be right back after this from the Aguiar Professional Training Studio.
We'll be right back, guys. Grab some coffee.
Introducing Aguiar Professional Training, where we believe your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is crucial for the success and growth of your business. To reach new heights, you need to hire smart, talented individuals and empower them to work in their areas of strength and passion. At Aguiar Professional Training, we're dedicated to helping your employees become happier, more productive, and fulfilled, because when your team thrives, your business thrives. We can help your workplace work better. We offer customized workshops and one-on-one coaching to help teams and leaders build trust and have better communication. We also offer strategic planning sessions, among other services. Elevate your team with Aguiar Professional Training.
Welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. I am Doug Vincent. Got Eric Aguilar here. How you doing, Eric?
How you doing, folks? I'm Eric Aguilar.
Today, we're going to be talking with Scott Welch with Welch Insurance Services. And he deals in Medicare, Medi-Cal, all of those benefits. And he's probably one busy man right now because it's open enrollment. You might have caught that if you watch TV at all.
Yes. Yeah, it's busy. But thanks. I always have time for you, Doug.
I appreciate it. So, we'll talk more about open enrollment, but I did want to kind of get to and help out people who are maybe coming up on being eligible for benefits as they get older. They get closer and closer to 65, or they want to retire, whatever their retirement age is. Any tips for them as that gets closer? Because I know it can be a little intimidating. It's a little complicated, seems like.
It sure can be. It's a big system, and it's a federal program. So the basics work the same way for everybody. You get that red, white, and blue card with Part A and Part B on it. And then you want to find a plan that goes with it, because as you know, it doesn't cover everything. The Part A and B card. And by the way, I always ask folks, do you know where the money for that program comes from? Well, that's your money. We've all been inputting into that most of our working lives, and it's available for folks that are 65 or older for the most part. But if you're disabled, then you can get it early, and those are the folks that need it the most. And so they do a good job, I think, of creating and of hosting programs that go with Medicare. And that's where we can help and come in, is that once you get that red, white, and blue card, people are sort of lost because it doesn't cover everything. The quick rundown is that Part A covers hospital. And there's a pretty sizable deductible. And for next year, for 2024, it's $1,632. So if you went in the hospital, you'd pay the first $1,632 and Medicare pays all the rest. I mean, that's not a bad deal if it's $100,000.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's still a lot. $1,632, particularly if you're relying on disability, SSDI. And then Part B covers everything outside the hospital. So those are all of your primary doctors, your specialists, your labs, your X-rays. All of those parts, therapies are covered under Part B. And for Part B, there is usually a monthly premium it may be taken out of your SSDI check or your Social Security. And then what Part B does not cover, first of all, there's a monthly premium. For 2024, that monthly cost will be $174.70 per month. And typically they just take it out of your check.
Yeah. So that's gone down a little bit, right?
It went down for this year, $5, but then it went up $9 for 2024.
Oh, gotcha.
This year it was $164.90. Next year is $104. I can't say, because 2 years ago it was an election year when they brought it down $5, but I digress. But at any rate, it's $174.70 now, typically. Okay. And there are some programs for folks that are lower income to help cover some of those costs. And you can always talk to your Medi-Cal caseworker about entry into those programs. Federal government does a pretty good job of identifying folks, but it never hurts to ask about that to see if you qualify for one of those programs to help you cover Part B. And it's all based on income, not assets necessarily. There are some resources that go into term, but not your house, not your car. And so you can check with Medi-Cal for that. And then for Part B,
Scott, how about if you have a retirement, you've got a pension of some sort, does that affect it as well? Or
that counts.
That does count.
Yes, that counts. Yeah, even if you retire early, if you any income, modified adjusted gross income, that's what's included in the income part. And then there, along with Part B, there's that monthly premium, $174.70, and then you'd pay a $240 annual deductible. The first $240, not of every appointment, but of all appointments. And then you'd pay 20% of everything. So those three costs, the $1,632 for Part A, the $240, the 20%, those are things that could really add up if you only had the red, white, and blue card. Now, if you have Medi-Cal, and a lot of folks do, along with the red, white, and blue card, that's a very good thing. If you have full Medi-Cal, then that helps pick up some of those extra costs. In addition to that, you can elect to have a plan to go with it. And it's typically, those plans are based on where you see your doctors. If you're in the inland area, there's Loma Linda, there's Optum, there's Kaiser. There are many different ways that you can see providers. Each one of those entities is associated with certain Medicare plans that cover those extra costs.
Mm-hmm.
So is this different than what they call original Medicare when you go with one of these plans?
Yes, it is. So what the red, white, and blue card, thanks for bringing that up, Doug. The red, white, and blue card is original Medicare. And as I described it, it doesn't cover everything. So that's why you want something to go with it, to help it, to supplement it. Medi-Cal can be one of those things. Those are two of the largest health systems in the United States, and they help cover each other, if that makes sense. So if you have both, you're in pretty good shape. Now, the plans that go on top of those two can help with ancillary benefits like dental and vision. And sometimes there are a lot of extras that you can get through a program called Medicare Advantage. And so the quick rundown on that is that I've described for you what's on the red, white, and blue card. That's Part A and Part B. Those are both covered by the Medicare program. Part C of Medicare is a program called Medicare Advantage. And that's where they created a program. They did something really smart. They work with many of the different private insurance carriers that we've all heard of. AARP United, Anthem, Blue Shield, Scand, Humana, Kaiser's one of them. All of these different insurance carriers work under and through the Medicare Part C Medicare Advantage program, and it ties it all together. And that's where you get a lot of the extras. I mean, I've seen plans that you can get everything from pet care to groceries to chiropractor, acupuncture. Most of them include gym memberships, vision, dental, all of these extras included all in one, and typically at no extra cost.
I have one that has gym membership, and I just learned about this from actually one of our guests on this show, and I think it's through Blue Shield. And you just print out a pass, and it's not only locally where you are, but if you travel, you can use it. And so where like you can go into 24-hour fitness across the country, and one of the things that he was saying is he uses it sometimes when he's traveling. So not just to work out or something like that, but he can go in there, and take a shower and use that while he's traveling. And there's those other kinds of, benefits that you can use as well. And that's absolutely free along with your membership.
That's a brilliant use of it. Absolutely. So that can be really helpful, and it's free. And there are, tens of thousands of health clubs that belong typically in most areas. Your YMCA's, 24-hour fitness, LA Fitness, those are nationwide health club facilities, and they're all involved in that. So great point. You can use it for a lot more than just going and work it out or whatever.
The other thing is as you're talking about this, and I think if for our listeners, and they got to tell, this is where it starts to get complicated. Because like even now, I've been covered for what now 2-3 years, and as you're talking, I'm thinking, what do I have? But I know I have original Medicare, and I have Blue Shield,
mm-hmm.
and I know I get,
and you have a drug plan,
and I have a drug plan. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But vision is covered in there somewhere, but I don't have a separate plan for vision.
No, what you have, Doug, is the second way. There's two ways. This is a great segue to describing that there are two primary ways that everybody in America has to cover those extra costs that original Medicare, the red, white, and blue card, does not cover. And one route I described up front, that is Part C, Medicare Advantage. I call it one-stop shopping. It's all in one. It includes a lot of extras. The route that you chose is the private route. And that's where you get a Medicare supplement, not to be confused with Medicare Advantage. A Medicare supplement is private insurance that goes on top of your red, white, and blue card. And then the third part of what you have is a drug plan, Part D of Medicare. So Part A is hospital, Part B are doctors, Part D are for drugs. Part C ties it all together. But you've opted for the other route, the private route, which is the Medicare supplement. And that's where you pay a little bit more, but the difference between a Medicare supplement and Medicare Advantage is that with Medicare Advantage, you have a network. You enroll with a health plan, all of those companies I described earlier, and you enroll with them, and then you stay within the network of the doctors included on that list. Now, that one plan can cover many medical groups, so you can change back and forth. But what you've chosen is a private Medicare supplement, also known as Medigap. And that's really the second big way that everybody in America has to cover those extra Medicare costs. And with yours, there is no network. You may go anywhere you want, anytime you want. If you wanted to go to providers in any state in the country, as long as they accept Medicare, and that's 98%, then they will accept your extra coverage of that. So that allows you complete freedom to go wherever you want to go.
And that's part of the decision I made was, for that reason. And also because I wanted to go to the doctors I already had, so that way it allowed me to, and it wasn't, it was worth it. That extra was worth it to me, because I had been with a cardiologist for X amount of years and I wanted to stay with him. And so there are, pros and cons, and either way is good. If you have everything in that network, it covers a lot of other things too, those Advantage plans, right?
They do. So on the Advantage plan, remember that's opposite of what you have.
Yeah.
With the supplement, now yours is unique because you've got a supplement that actually one of the few, and I don't mind, you don't mind me saying it's Blue Shield, that's your supplement, and you have the Blue Shield Extra plan, where now the supplements used to only cover what Medicare doesn't cover. Very simply, doctors, specialists, labs, x-rays, hospital, that's it. Yours includes a few extra benefits. You pay a little bit more, but you're getting some vision, you're getting dental, you're getting, there's a new benefit called OTC, over the counter, and I hope you're using yours up.
Yeah.
Because you should be receiving this OTC. That's where you can go, you can order drugstore items that don't require a prescription.
Yeah.
And you can order, everything from vitamins and minerals to mouthwash and toothpaste to Pepto-Bismol and all these.
And you know what else, Guy? You can get like a blood pressure device. Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff in there too. It's $100 a quarter.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And so that more than covers the extra cost that you're paying. I mean, I don't think you'd mind me saying, I think you pay about $14 or $15 extra per month.
Yeah.
But then you get back almost $1,000 worth of extra things. And that includes the gym membership, the over-the-counter, some of those extras. So that's Blue Shield is one of the few that's headed in the direction. Typically, Medicare Advantage Part C includes all that stuff, right? And by the way, with Part C, for the most part, Part C Medicare Advantage, there's no cost. You get all of that inclusive. You have the Medicare supplement, there's more of a cost, but you have complete freedom to go to almost any provider that you want to see.
Gotcha. Eric, did you have a question?
Oh yeah, I got one question. When it comes to the disabled community, how does the Medicare cater to specific needs, and are there any specialized plans available?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get a little. Because this show is about the disabled community. So I definitely wanted to get to that part. Thank you, Eric.
Yes. There are some plans that are specific, and they're called special needs plans. And there are some to folks with some chronic issues. There are some plans specific to that. Sometimes there are certain medications that are covered better. Sometimes there are extra elements. And so, for example, there's a large part of the disabled community that also has Medicaid. In California, it's Medi-Cal. And that Medi-Cal helps pick up some extra costs. There are some plans that put Medicare and Medi-Cal together, and that's called a dual plan. So if you have dual coverage between Medicaid, Medi-Cal, and Medicare, there are some plans that offer some really some big additional benefits. Give you one patient in that's dual, has some special needs, and she's getting $500 per quarter between monies that she gets on a flex card, and that's a card that allows her to go buy some extra things like groceries and extra items from the pharmacy, and including that also the over-the-counter items from the pharmacy. And all told, she's getting some extra money, and she can use that to buy groceries and so forth, as long as you have some certain diagnosis. So that's a great question, Eric.
Yeah. And
yes, there are many different plans. Each one of those companies that I mentioned, from AARP to Anthem Blue Cross, Blue Shield, even Kaiser, they'll have their own dual plan. And that plan generally has some additional robust benefits that ties it all together. And the beneficiaries, the recipients, members can really benefit from that.
How about DME, durable medical equipment? Is that covered under Medicare? And
Yeah, it's covered under all the plans. So in a scenario where you have both Medicare and Medi-Cal will pick it up. Durable medical equipment typically is out of pocket 20%, meaning, you get $1,000 chair, you get whatever that is, appliance, device, you'd pay the 20%. But if you have Medi-Cal, they'll help pick it up. And if you have a plan, whatever plan you enroll in, they will have a maximum out of pocket. So you'll still pay 20%, but only up to that maximum out of pocket. And I've heard, there are some maximum out of pocket. Some are as low as $299, $399, wow. $800 seems to be a very typical amount. And that means if you had all co-pays in the year combined, the maximum you would pay is $800 or $399. Just depends on the plan and the company.
And then after that, it's 100%.
Yeah, and not just to sort of toot our horn, but that's where having a good qualified local broker helps you sort of navigate through all these different plans, because you mentioned up front, that's where it gets to be completely mind-boggling. Even for us, I mean, this is what we do all day, every day. There are a lot of plans. I mean, there's over 70 different Medicare Advantage plans available, and that's each company. There's 17 companies. Each one of them has 5 or 6 plans.
Yeah.
And so there can be a lot of choices. So, what you want to do if you're with somebody that's qualified and is good at what they do, they want to assess what your needs are. I want to find out, where does Eric want to go to the doctor? What are his needs? What does he have? Does he have Medicare? Does he have Medicaid or Medi-Cal if you're in California? With those things, we want to kind of assess that. In addition to that, one of the things that can really make a difference from one plan to another are, what are your individual medication needs? And not everybody has a lot of medications, but most of us have, our own unique medication list. So if you are on something that's kind of expensive, that's one of the factors that you want to look at from plan to plan.
Well, let me kind of play the listener right now. And so if they're listening to this and they hear, there are organizations such as yours that kind of help you navigate all of this, is there a cost to that?
No, great question. No, never. There should never be a cost with anybody associated with Medicare advice. And by the way, I'll tell you up front that the phone calls, for whatever reason, no matter how you're eligible for Medicare, you end up on this public list. And the phone calls are ad nauseum. And I feel really bad for folks that are subjected to this. But know this, folks, that Medicare nor the Social Security Administration will ever call your house. No matter what anybody says, oh, I'm calling with your Medicare benefits. No one from Medicare ever calls them. Those are 99.9% of the time, those are sales solicitation calls, and no one is allowed to call you without your permission. So those are illegal calls. And if somehow they've gotten through, just ask them, is this a legal call? Do you have an insurance license? Because those are likely these third-party solicitations. So I call, ring, ring, Doug answers, hello. And somebody from who knows where they're calling from calls and says, oh, Doug, did you know there are plans in your area where you can get up to $600 in groceries over the year? And do you know what your Medicare benefits are? Can you give me your Medicare information? Oh. And I represent Medicare plans. And you want to say, no, time out. No. Don't talk to anybody over the phone. Those are very, very likely scam calls.
I even noticed
what happens is that people are enrolled in some.
I was just going to say, I noticed that even the commercials that you see on TV are, they're very creative in the way they're written to make it sound like they have maybe, I'll say, a bit more authority than they do, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. And they are. I mean, those are generalized questions, and they will say, if you notice, there's a little disclaimer that says, some plans available in your area. Based on your area. And that's the truth. So you may get this benefit from who knows where. It may not apply to you in your city. And so you always want to be sure. That's where having local representation is really important. That's some local, broker or an advisor. If you call the health plan directly, you're only going to hear why that health plan is so great.
Yeah.
So typically you want to have somebody who is fluent in all of the plans in your area, or most of the plans. And by the way, when I talk to someone, I never make outbound calls, meaning I'm never going to call somebody. If you had a friend, you've referred folks to us before, Doug, you had a friend that called, I could talk to them. But if you said, hey, Scott, I have my friend Eric, call him, here's his number, I'm not allowed to do that. I always have to have permission up front. And so just be aware of that even as we're sitting here together, even though I know, Eric, unless Eric reached out to me, I'm not allowed to call him, and vice versa.
That's good to know.
Although I'm allowed to call you, Doug, because you're my client.
Yeah.
but otherwise, you're not allowed to call anybody who's not already been solicited and given permission to do that.
That's great information. I'm sitting here, and as we're talking, kind of get a handle on the A and the B and the C and the D and all of those things. But then, you mentioned that each one of those plans that you're considering might have 6 or 7 or 10 or 20, sub plans inside there. So yeah, it's really, it's helpful to get a little help to go through that. We've covered kind of the bigger picture, but also, like I say, we now is open enrollment time. Is there anything specific to those folks that, are in it? I think some people think, oh, do I have to make a change, or, should I, or what? What do you say?
Yeah, great questions. And absolutely. The first thing to know, folks, is that if you're happy with your plan, you don't have to do anything. It will automatically renew for you. January 1st, you don't have to make an election. If you've had any cost changes, any expenses, any medication changes that may cost more, then you'll want to take a look at that. And that's what your local advisor should be able to do. And but otherwise, you don't have to do anything. And the other message that I have for most people this year is that in general, in Southern California, the plans have remained almost identically the same, almost identical to last year. And so for the most part, the plans are 95+% the same. You're being covered the same way. There's no big ahas that I am aware of this year. There are some plans, and that's why, you get the phone calls, because it's so competitive out there. In order for these companies to grow one or the other, they've got to steal you. So somebody's got to call Doug and say, hey, Doug, dangle the carrot and say, hey, ooh, look what we have over here. Look behind door number 3 and look behind door number 2. And there's this sort of baiting and switching that's going on all over the place. But if you're happy with your plan, it's taking good care of you, and you have minimal to zero cost at your doctor's, stay right where you are. And if you have any questions, you want to look for somebody like myself. It's not just me, it's my wife and I. We've been doing this. We've probably consulted over 4,000 people in the last 14 years. And so we're always going to be honest with you. And, we don't want to just get your business. We want to earn your trust, and if I help you by just being upfront with you and saying, Doug, you're in great shape, take good care of yourself, guess what you're going to do? You're going to tell your friends about us.
And, and that's
the way we operate. That's our
I was just going to say, that's what's happened. I could have reached out to just about anybody to do this segment because it's timely and all that, but I have a history with you. You've answered all the questions. I've been, obviously, I think if anybody's been listening the last 20, 30 minutes, you're very knowledgeable. You have the answers that we're looking for. So yeah, I feel confident recommending you. I'll go ahead and say that, and
well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I didn't say that just for the solicitation, but
I know.
I really feel that folks should be looked out for. This is we're all going to need help at some point.
Yeah.
And in that case, as we age, we have certain things that we need healthcare choices for. We are a vulnerable population at that time. Yeah. And, the least that folks can do is just to be honest and upfront with you and not try to sell you things you don't need. And so I feel like the business side of that, it takes over a little bit, and sometimes people are a little over eager to just switch your plans. And so you want to be aware of that.
Yeah. You know, and nice thing about, having somebody, like Scott is that, you may start to review your plan, and because you might maybe want to see if you can save a little money. Because like you say, there's people that it's pretty tight. They save $5 here. That makes a big difference, and
Absolutely.
But you might change your plan saving $5 in premium, but what are you losing in that plan that may, mean you'll be $10 behind, or whatever the figures are. So it's good to have some professional advice. Yeah.
Yeah, great point. So one of the sort of new benefits is that Sarah and I used to say to each other, the Medicare Advantage plans, and we're speaking in that vein, most of them have had zero cost for many, many years, for 10 plus years, and very minimal doctor cost copays, doctors and specialists and labs and x-rays, hospital, all that stuff, mostly zeros. And we always thought, well, gosh, it doesn't get any better than zero. Well, actually it does in some cases. There are some plans that give you money back toward your Part B costs. So when you see these rebate plans, be aware of that, because you nailed it. If you're going to get something, you may be giving up something else. So just be aware of how all that fits. We represent 10 different companies that have a variety of plans, most of the ones in Southern California, and we're always up front. We don't represent every plan in Southern California by any means. And I should say, as a disclaimer, I'm a local person, completely independent. I always say, in our meetings and our presentations, that I don't work directly for Medicare. I don't work for any one of the health plans. I don't work for the medical groups. I represent and work with many of them, but not all of them. I will have to say I do work for my wife. So that's the one person I do work for. But that's another story. That's
another story. Yeah.
So, but we work together. We really enjoy doing it because it's a jungle out there. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful of who you're talking to and what plans. And there's, I feel like, it's a little bit like Alice in Wonderland, and you're sliding down that tunnel, and there are all of these fun little things that pop up, and you may be dissuaded one way or another. I get calls every day, Doug, that say, okay, Scott, I keep getting these postcards that say $600 in groceries. Well, what about the $900 in groceries? What about the $2,000 in XYZ? And I just say, well, you just have to consider where you are. And so let's review that. And so what we do, primary part of our job is just putting people at ease, and letting them know you have a good plan, you're in good shape. And so rest assured you have that, because you and I worked in radio together for many, many years. We know what that messaging can be, right? That's what his intention to do. It's intentional. They're trying to get you to call. They're trying to promote a fear of loss. They're giving everybody, the new groovy term is FOMO, fear of missing out. And that's what all these Medicare commercials do. FOMO. But I had to ask my then, this was 5 or 6 years ago, my then teenage daughter, hey, what's this FOMO? She said, Dad, it's a fear of missing out. I said, oh, that's what all the seniors suffer from. It's FOMO.
Big time.
I feel like I'm missing a benefit somewhere.
Yeah.
When in fact they probably aren't. But it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, and it's like you say, it's a vulnerable population. Is vulnerable in the time of life that they're in. You get to a point in your life where you're not making any more money. You're living on whatever you've squirreled away and your benefits you get from working and all that, and so you kind of watch it like a hawk, and one bad decision, may send you down the wrong path. So, one other thing I wanted to ask you too, because I'd heard this even before I picked going with original, but they were saying if you go with one of these other, say, Advantage plans, it's hard to get back to original if you wanted to make that change. Is that the case, or?
Not in 95% of the cases. That's a great point, Doug. And to clarify that's if you're in Medicare Advantage and you want to go back to original Medicare with a supplement. It is private. So yes, they can say no. But here's what they say no for. They say no that if you've been recently diagnosed with very serious issues like organ transplant, joint replacement, spinal surgeries, heart surgeries, end-stage renal disease, which is kidney failure, cirrhosis of the liver, those things that lead to major surgeries. They don't want you to have been just diagnosed and get on a supplement and then they have to pay that extra part. So that in that case, they do say no. But in my experience in, working with several thousand people, that 95% pass with no problems. And some of the plans have even offered a time period where you can have, they call it an underwriting holiday. So when you're asked medical questions, if you've been on Medicare for a while, then you have underwriting. And that just means they review those questions to make sure you're okay. And if you're disabled, that doesn't matter. You can absolutely be disabled. Sometimes, disabled folks are some of the healthiest folks I know also. But yes, they have a disability that they're dealing with. And in addition, but that doesn't mean their overall, well-being, or they're suffering from some internal things that might cost more. And so, want to be aware of that. And so it can be very helpful in a lot of cases. I would say also that if you're switching from Medicare Advantage and you want to go to the style that you have, also beware that if you've been issued Medicare early under 65, those supplemental Medigap plans, the private insurance, they can be a lot more expensive because they know that if you've been awarded Medicare early, that you might be subject to more costs.
I got you. Yeah.
Not necessarily, but you might be. So they're going to be more expensive if you're under 65.
And they're a business. I always keep that in mind. They're entitled to, to make decisions that benefit them and, keep them solvent and making money and all that for if they have shareholders or whatever it is. Right. So, yeah.
Absolutely right. Yes, they do. They are a business. Medicare health insurance is a very big business in this country. In fact, 3 of the top 10 businesses of all, you've heard of little businesses like Amazon and Walmart and Facebook and Tesla, right? Those are American companies in the top 10. And 3 of the top 10 companies have to do with healthcare. In fact, number 5 is United Health Group. Number 6 is CVS Caremark. So those are 5 and 6. So not only top 10, but those are, pushing top 5 companies of all companies in America. So it is a very big business and one that should work for you.
Anything else you got, Eric? We got the expert here. You got any questions?
No, I think we've tackled the entire enchilada. You've got me completely stumped, guys.
Good. Anything, Scott, that maybe we missed that you want to kind of leave with our listeners?
Just, buyer beware. Be careful. Make sure that you're with somebody who's going to be honest and forthright and returns your calls. A little bit of courtesy goes a long way. And, just a few pro tips is, be careful just calling one health plan directly unless that's what you want and that's what your provider has. And if it's doing a great job, good for you. Stay there. And if not, call our office, 909-307-5900. We're always happy to answer your questions and just make sure you're in the right plan. And if that's it, you'll always have a very honest and direct and forthright answer to any of your questions. And that's our office, Welsh Insurance Services, 909-307-5900. Always happy to help you. And it's a pleasure to be here with you, Doug. Thanks.
Thank you. And one other thing I'll add too is that is chat with your friends, who maybe have already gone through it and just kind of start to gather that knowledge and go on the website, the portal for Medicare and sign up early, 6 months before you're even going to take it, just to kind of get in the system. And, it worked out well for me. This is some advice that I had gotten from a friend. And when I tried to sign up, they ask you 3 things: your name, your social security number, and your birth date. And I couldn't sign up because I didn't know why it took. So that's why I had to go down to the office and get it all straightened out. Somehow they had my birthday wrong. so it wouldn't let me sign up. So you get that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So you can, it's good to start looking into it 6 months out.
Yeah.
You can enroll in Medicare 90 days out.
Yeah. But you can sign up for the portal early.
Somebody get set up for it. Make sure that information is okay. You can do it online.
Yeah.
The federal government's getting better and better at trying to serve everybody. SSA.gov. And if you don't already, it's a good idea to have an account called My SSA.
Yeah.
Everybody can do it because you want to know what kind of Social Security benefits might you get when you're of age and so forth, and all of that will factor in. So My SSA account, and then when you're ready to enroll in Medicare, it makes it really fast and easy to do that.
Very good. Thank you for coming on and helping us kind of get through this whole process that can be a little daunting. So we appreciate it, Scott. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure, guys. Thanks, Eric. And thank you, Doug. Happy to do it. Call us anytime if you want to leave information for us. I'm very happy to do it. You can contact us through Doug also, and he'll forward our information for you anytime.
If I could be you.
And you could be me.
For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hey, welcome back, folks. I'm Eric Aguilar here with my buddy Doug.
Another episode of Walk and Roll Live, kind of winding down from the Aguiar Professional Training Studio. Thank you for listening. We don't, at least I don't feel like I say that enough. We appreciate you taking the time. There's a couple other podcasts out there, you could listen to, and we appreciate you spending time with us very, very much. If you have any comments or guest suggestions, anything you like, warlive at walkandrolllive.com. You can go to the website, the resource page. Most of the guests, I would say, I don't want to say all of them because I'm not particularly sure, but I always try to put our guests on our website on the resource page. So we'll put Scott up there in his organization, put his website, and then you can get all the information. But everybody that's been on, Greg last week, and everybody that's been on, if they've had with an organization that has a website, we put them up there. And of course, I don't know where you find it, but if you, the podcast, you can find them everywhere. iHeartRadio, Google, Podbean, Amazon, iTunes, you name it. And we definitely appreciate you tuning in and coming back for more. What do you got, Eric? Any closing words?
Well, the only closing words I could think of is I want you to spend every precious moment you have with your loved ones this holiday season, because when it comes down to it, man, it's all about family, and it's never truly about what's under the tree. It's about who's still with us, because it's the memories that's the true gift for the holidays.
On that note, we'll see you next week. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, folks.
Walk and Roll Live is heard around the world at walkandrolllive.com, Podbean, and Spotify. Like us at facebook.com/walkandrolllive. You can email us at warlive@walkandrolllive.com with comments, observations, or whatever's on your mind. Have a topic you'd like to hear or a guest you think would be great for the show? Let us know. Look for new episodes every Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for listening.